Lindsey Graham proposed this federal abortion ban, as you guys are all aware by now, and spreads tons of lies about it, constantly saying that I'm just doing this in a response to the Democratic Party saying that abortions should be legal up until the moment of birth. Now, we've talked about how the actual bill that was proposed has a line of viability. This is the Democratic Party bill, viability. And then after that, the mother's life. Okay. That's whenever you'd be able to get an abortion. So the claims being made about it, you just, as he says, abortion on demand until the point of birth is silly, is not factual, misrepresentation. Okay. But he's getting a lot of pressure for it. And so he appeared on Fox and Friends and got asked about this, had an interesting answer that reveals just how deeply hypocritical he is, and will show you a side to side to side example of how just in the last month or so, or maybe a couple of months, he's taken completely diametrically opposed stances on this issue.
China, I don't want to be North Korea when it comes to the unborn.
You know, Senator, there are so many Republicans who are pro-life, but there are also a lot of Republicans who believe in federalism and states' rights and on things like deciding their own laws on abortion. Sure. And this federal abortion ban would go against that.
This is not a states' rights issue. This is a human right issue. At 15 weeks.
Okay. This is not a states' rights issue. This is a human rights issue. Now, I'm on record saying it's a little bit weird to me if you genuinely were to believe that abortion was murder, then you would also be okay with it being a states' rights issue. That's weird to me, because if I actually thought something was murder, I'm not going to let that be left up to the states, right? No, across the board, no one should be doing murder. And so the fact that that was ever a stance is a little bit weird, but that was the stance. So many Republicans said, listen, we want to overturn Roe v. Wade, not because we want to tell you what to do within the law about abortion, but in our state, we should be able to make our own decisions. And they flipped on that. Okay. And Lindsey Graham is a great example of that. And this is part of what's causing the conflict within the Republican Party. So here is a side to side to side put together by the recount, showing how his view is just completely flip-flopped.
I think states should decide the issue of marriage, and states should decide the issue of abortion.
I think we should have a law at the
So for our podcast listeners, August 7th was the first audio you heard. It cuts now September 13th, so just a little over a month later.
Federal level that would say after 15 weeks, no abortion on demand.
This is not a states' rights issue. This is a human right issue. I don't care what California does.
So in the first clip on August 7th, he's saying, I think it should be left up to the states. So, the way to say that would be a states' rights issue. By the third clip on September 20th, under 2 months later, he's saying, this is not a states' rights issue. Now, I don't know specifically why he's doing this. I don't know why he's flipped on this. It's not crazy to see a politician, be a hypocrite. But from a strategic point of view, it doesn't make a ton of sense. The only explanation I've heard is that Lindsey Graham feels like this is giving one clear stance that Republicans could get behind going into the midterms. So when the issue of abortion is brought up, they have something that's a little bit more reasonable for some people in the states that they're having these issues on the topic of abortion, if that makes sense. So when these bans are going across in certain states at 6 weeks or something like that, or across the board banning completely, then that'll get tacked on to Republicans in these races. So maybe Lindsey Graham's trying to present a bill that's 15 weeks so that can then be run on in other states where they're currently having issues in the polling based on this issue of abortion. Maybe that's why, but it seems like it's caused just the issue to be brought up again and people to realize in America that the Republican Party is not the party who has the correct stance on the issue of abortion. And I think just generally, the more that abortion can be a part of the public conversation, a part of these campaigns, the better it's going to be for the Democratic candidate. I think the country now is way more on the side of, there being access to abortions than ever before. And also seeing Roe v. Wade actually get overturned, the ramifications of that, Republican legislatures passing laws to restrict that or restrict abortion rights is really impacting people and motivating people to go to the polls for the Democrats. And so if it is this like, hey, how about all the Republican Party can get on the same page where we're not being branded as the complete ban party, but instead the 15-week ban party, that might have been Lindsey Graham's strategy. But generally, it seems like it's not going over well on the right, and they're unhappy with him for making this back in the center of the political conversation, which I love that it is, because people should be aware of the Republican Party's real stance on this. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support what I do, as well as get access to the full show, all of the stories hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus a weekly bonus show, you can go to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley.